Welcome to Creative Vitality Jam Sessions. Here we have intimate conversations with extraordinary dance and theater artists about reimagining creativity and supporting and building community. Creative Vitality Jam Sessions and I walk in solidarity and as allies for equality, justice, and respect. Black lives matter, and we must keep walking the walk in order for change to come. I'm Helen Pickett, and today's guest is John D. Lamb, principal dancer with Boston Ballet. John and I have known each other since 2005. He was in the original, or he was part of the original cast of Etesian, my very first ballet. John, it's so good to see you here. Hi.
Hi, Helen.
Hi.
Thank you for having me.
Oh,
I'm
my
excited
pleasure.
for this.
My pleasure. So happy to talk with you and have, this community, Instagram community, learn more about you. That's what these talks are about. So we get to meet amazing artists during this time of, really a different time for everybody in the world. So
Right.
be inspired and learn something. So John, before we start, I just wanted to, I just have to acknowledge that you and I, yes, we've known each other since 2005, but in the 5 pieces I've made for Boston Ballet, you have been a part of every single one of them.
Right. Yes. It's when I look back.
Petal, which I
Petal. Yes.
It's an interesting story that has finally come to Boston. But why don't you tell the story about where it came from? Because you were really.
Oh, gosh. Well, Petal, I mean, we started kind of working this movement, this ballet that we kind of didn't really know what it was going to be, more or less, right? And I had already been taken under your wing when we first created Etesian at Boston Ballet. I think this was about maybe 2 or 3 years after Etesian, I think, maybe? Two, okay, yes, 2. And it was a small group of us, and I remember, I'm thinking back how we put together a solo, and then some of the potages that are now prevalent now in Petal. And so years passed by, and I saw Petal, and I kept remembering, I'm like, that music is so familiar, but I couldn't really put it in a spot because it was never performed, right? It was in a rehearsal setting, and we performed it amongst people, but it wasn't in a theater. Right. So when I saw this ballet, I kept thinking to myself, even though I hadn't reached out to you, I was very much I was like, that ballet seems familiar, but this is wonderful, this is beautiful, and I remember it being so vibrant and beautiful. Then it arrived to Boston Ballet for this season, and then it just all kind of clicked because we were starting to do the solo, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know why this is so normal for me to. I was thinking maybe it's because I'm so I love doing your work, so I was thinking, I'm just used to doing Helen's work.
Exactly.
But there was something different, but I couldn't figure it out yet until you told me, this is from when we did way back. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're right. So then when I went back to a DVD of the showcase, I'm like, oh my God, there I am doing that.
Yeah, so what's interesting, John, is that this was created for, it was called Work in Progress. That was the title for it. Right. The New York Choreographic Institute, that's what I created it for, right, on Boston Ballet. So they gave, they funded it. So that's how this actually all started. And I was really cognizant. I gave you the exact solo of what you had or what we had created back then. Right. for the New York Choreographic Institute showing. It wasn't the other solo. It's the one that we started.
No,
And even though it morphed,
right.
it was still, you know, it was still, that was really a conscious choice.
It's
And I also
amazing.
have to say, you know, we created Tijin together, Eventide together, Lelio Majnun. You were part of Sukyo at one point, then
yep.
Petal, and then parts 1, 2, and 3, because you were also in part 3, not just Lele, but part 3, Avo part piece. So we really have a long history together. And there's the second part of the question. How has working, because you also work with Yorma Elo a lot, you have a house choreographer, right? And then now working with Bill quite often, but how was it early on to work with one choreographer over a period of time? How did that shift your ideas of work? If it did, how?
Right. Well, first, I'm forever grateful for you, because I think that, I mean, truly, like, I feel like, you know, the people that are listening, that are young, who are right now in quarantine, or they don't know what their future's like in a company, right? Because we don't know what the makeup of what company is. But when I look back at the relationship that we have cultivated together, I think that it's the relationship that you have with yourself, and also the relationship that you have with choreographers. I think that it's very important, versus someone just telling you, okay, this is step A, B, C, do exactly A, B, and C, and that's it. But I think that with my relationship with you, and having that very long, trusted, creative amount of years that we've had, even if seasons I hadn't done your ballets, there was still this, like, underlining current, where you had that kind of, like, respect, or that that intimate conversation that you would have with yourself, and say, oh yeah, Helen would allow me to do this, and how do I incorporate that with doing Giselle, or how do I incorporate doing that in the Prince for Nutcracker? I think that having that relationship really helps an artist continue to search and figure out what that means to them. Because I felt at the time, when I was so green and very young in the company, when you met me, you know, all you think of when you're in a company is that you just want the roles, and you just want to be out there, and you want to do your best, and you everything, you know, you're so excited just to be on stage. But the difference between having the relationship with a choreographer in the choreographic sense is that you have a choreographer that trusts you as a person. You know, I think there is a fine line of trusting someone as a human being, than just trusting someone like, okay, you're just a tool for me, and I'm just going to utilize you as a tool, and you just have to create for me. But because we had this amazing relationship, it's like this rapport. It's like, I respect, you respect, we exchange ideas, we figure things out. There's no wrong. I think that I learned that from you, where the most amazing experience, I mean, the memory that I have is, we were in, like, these rehearsals, and you were moving amazingly, and we were all just like, okay, I don't know if we can do that, but, like, we'll try to do that. But it was amazing, because you would do something, like, all of a sudden we're talking, we're laughing, we're having a good, like, time, and then you're like, no, do this, and then you're like doing it, and we're just like, damn, this girl can like have you like laughing, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, we're all talking about real business here, like, we need to get it together. But I think that environment allows one to, like, not take yourself so seriously that you're so rigid in the movement, but allow yourself to be like, okay, like, today I'm tired, but, like, let's use that tiredness and, like, utilize, like, how that's gonna make your movement work for whatever needs to be done, like the goal. And I remember you telling me that what's so interesting is, like, the not the fight. I don't like the word the fight, but it's like when you see a dancer create something, or you're in a movement and you see them get from, like, point A to point B, but B is never a period at the end of B. And you taught me that you can get to be, but you should also allow yourself and also for the viewer to be like, okay, is that really be at the end? Or could there be a possibility of something else or another idea? And I think that ideas instilled in me as an artist, because it's like, we all come up with ideas, right? And we're all artists. And I believe that ideas and artists mesh together. And it's like, what is that idea? Like, how do you present yourself as a prince? And how do you present yourself as a prince in 2020? How do you present yourself as a prince being an Asian American? How do you present yourself coming from parents who've never seen you dance on the opera stage? Like, these things that are very personal to us, right? But we have a choice to either make that point or not.
What I'm hearing you say, thank you, first of all, but what I'm hearing you say is that, especially with the last comments you made, like wrapping up, like, how is it to be a Vietnamese American prince? How is it to have your family see you for the first time on stage? All of these aspects contribute to you as a human being, and that is what, and we both know through our work together, but that is what is interesting on stage. Those are the people that the audience relates to. And if that was something that we found together, then, you know, it's kind of like, my work is done. I'm so happy. In a way, you know, like, that is something, because you'll instill that in others. And, you know, it's just, thank you. It's a beautiful gift. Thank you so much.
No, of course. I mean, I think that that's, you know, the answer to that question you had asked about having worked with you for so many years. It just shows that you have that trust, but it's not a trust where it's like, okay, I'm taking that for granted, you know, but it's a trust, but, you know, so that people understand that when you're in the studio, I'm not
trust
still
both ways.
Right, but I'm not still satisfied with just that,
Exactly.
you know, like when we did pedal, yes, I did it. Yes, it could be this, but I'm like, yeah, but it could be better. Everything can always be better, right? But it's searching what that means and how you stretch it more, or how you listen to the music maybe differently. I don't know. That's why I find it, I love to work with you.
It's true. It's all true. I believe. And sometimes it's not even about better. It's about what I like to say, digging further in.
Right.
So that idea of better might come, but it's more about discovery and how many layers can an artist have within one role.
Right.
That's what I find so beautiful. Also in your work, and you really work that way, and you love to work that way. That was
Absolutely.
there before we met, that kind of work ethic, that devotion. So that's what I meant by both ways. Yes, it is not a trust where you take people for granted, or you take the situation for granted that, oh, you're here, you're going to work. No,
Right.
that's not always the case. And
Right.
that's also a choreographer's job to say, okay, this is how I work in the studio. Would you like to come along for the ride?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It's
exactly. Yes. No, I agree.
Right. Hey, John, first question. We already started right out of the bat, but where are you in the world?
I'm in Boston, Massachusetts, here with my family. So I would love to be somewhere else starting this summer. Usually I'm in California. That's where I'm originally from.
Right.
I'm from Marin County,
Right.
born and raised. But my family now is in Sacramento. But because of COVID, we're just kind of keeping hungry down to just be safe.
Yeah.
Usually I'm there for the summer.
My family in San Diego.
Right.
Both in California, but yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
But we're talking
it's tough.
More
FaceTime, more Zoom time.
Exactly.
So we have to rely on the technology.
So, okay, so this is actually it. You're originally from California, but you're first generation.
Yes, I am first generation. I'm the first generation that was born here in the US. All my cousins were born in Vietnam, and I'm the only known family member on my mom's side and my dad's side that's an artist.
That's amazing. So
no one.
A lot of firsts in your family, a lot of firsts. So
yeah.
we're both from California. We both came
Yeah.
from regional schools and then got accepted into bigger conservatories, you National Ballet of Canada, me San Francisco
Yeah.
Ballet, at around 15. So
Mm.
I moved with my family to San Francisco. I still had that, but you moved, I believe, at 15
Yes.
to National Ballet of Canada. How was that to go away at this age?
Right.
How did
You
that form
know,
you?
when I look back, it was a very tough time for myself and for my family, of course. In the Vietnamese culture, the youngest of three. The youngest one usually stays back to take care of their family. That's kind of like the cultural ideal. So I was not that ideal. And I told my parents that I really wanted to. I had this amazing opportunity, of course, to go to National Ballet of Canada. Um, After our summer program, they had accepted me and given me a full ride, room and board,
Wow.
anything that was needed, I can go because I didn't come from anything, and my parents surely couldn't afford to do anything for me. It was more or less like, okay, if you want to do something, you have to figure it all out. And it was really weird at 15 to like figure out your life at 15. But I knew what I knew was that I knew that I needed to dance, and I knew that I needed to leave the community of where I was born, like in Marin, because it's like a plant in a small pot. Like the root starts to grow out and it needs more water, it needs more soil, it needs, all these things. So I knew I needed to like transplant that into like a bigger pot. Of course, there was an opportunity to go to San Francisco Ballet that's closer, but at that time, San Francisco Ballet didn't have a full academic program, and
Right.
National Ballet of Canada had. So the only reason why my parents agreed was that I had to graduate and have a high school diploma. So I took I took the plunge and I went to Canada in 2000. Um, and it was really weird for me because it's like I had to say goodbye to my parents, but yet I was so exhilarated and so happy that I was like, it's almost as if like this gate opened and then you can just like run to like, it's like a long path, but you don't know where the path is going to go more or less. But now this gate is like, you can run, like you can go. And it was tough for me because I'm very close to my mom and very close to my dad. Um, and I'm very aware of trying to continue that cultural relationship and respect the culture. I think that's what's very hard for first generation,
Yes.
because you're stuck in this like generational gap where it's like, okay, you're a millennial, but like at the same time, you were born first generation where they came from Vietnam from a war, and all they came with was nothing. So they don't have anything yet. They want you to do as well as you can academically and have the perceived like job of being a doctor or a lawyer or whatever it is. But when I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna be a dancer, it didn't sit well, of course, with my parents. And also, to bring it up, one of the main reasons why my dad didn't want me to go is because of being gay. Their education of dance was correlated to homosexuality, but their education in homosexuality was the 80s, which was the height of the AIDS epidemic. So unbeknownst to me, because I was so young and, I didn't think that way. It was tough because I had to like, lie to my parents and say, okay, I'm not going to be gay, this conversation, right? But I'm just going to go and just do my dancing for 3 years and come back. That was like the game plan,
Right.
which would allow my parents to let me go. So yeah, it was tough. Is it's like you're lying, but at the same time, it's like, well, if I didn't lie, then I would have to like, I don't know what kind of person I would be. I would have never met you. I would have never had this amazing career thus far that I've had. So speeding forward, I learned a lot on my own at 15, 16, 17, growing pains, figuring out what kind of dancer I was going to be,
And who you
being
are.
and who I am. Exactly. And then also being immersed with other male dancers. The school that I was in, I was the only boy since I was 4.
Exactly.
So, I, I've never been exposed to other boy
Yeah.
dancers. And, you know, to put this little seed in is that my first real male teacher was Miko Nisinen.
I was
When he
gonna
had
ask.
retired, when he retired from San Francisco Ballet as a principal dancer, he succeeded as artistic director at Marin Ballet.
Right.
That's where I came from. And that's when he met me. That was the relationship that was basically forged, not knowing what was going to happen in
I
the
know.
future. I went to National Ballet Canada to train, and then Miko at that time left Marin Ballet and went to Alberta
Right.
Ballet. And then upon a graduation, my dream company, kind of still to this day, is San Francisco Ballet.
Really?
I grew up.
Oh.
I grew up watching San Francisco Ballet. I grew up idolizing all these amazing dancers and just being in the city. And I loved the vibe.
Yeah.
I loved the rep. So that was my dream company. But prior to even talking about accepting any kind of apprenticeship or anything with Helgi, Miko had already offered me a job right at my graduating performance at
Right.
National Ballet Canada, which he's like, you should really come to Boston. He had just taken over one year, and he was starting to cultivate his dancers that he knew, maybe, perhaps. And I was lucky enough that he had me on his radar, and he invited me, and I knew nothing about Boston. I knew nothing, like zero. It was either San Francisco Ballet or New York City Ballet.
Well,
Those are the
except,
two companies.
yeah, except you knew nothing. But, you know, Miko, as you said, was, you know, he did have a really long and amazing career at San Francisco Ballet. And so
Right.
there was a link there, you know what I mean, for
Right.
you somehow, you know, and there was, like you spoke about trust again. Here's
Right.
this man who, you know, he believed in you. He was,
Right.
you know, he was probably, I know Miko very well, as you know, and I'm sure he was happy to send you off to this amazing school. And then he was probably waiting also, you know, he's a planner, you know.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
yeah. So John, actually, this is great because you mentioned the relationship with Miko and Boston Ballet, but actually you have risen through the ranks of Boston Ballet to become one of the most beloved stars and one of the most beloved principal dancers on, you know, the Boston Ballet stage. And I read that you are the only openly gay Vietnamese married ballet dancer in a major ballet company, with not only that, 2 gorgeous baby boys. They're not babies anymore. God, they're going to
right.
kill me at that. They're 5 and 6. They're 5
Yes.
and 6 years old. And I know from, so knowing you a long time and also following you, that you put yourself out there. You put yourself out there as a role model, and you share this story as an example for others. Can you elaborate on how you share and inspire this, so maybe other people might, you know, find you?
Right.
What are the, you know?
I think that being a minority, I would say that
So there's a
that in
new word for that, global majority.
global majority, correct. Sorry. Yes, thank you for correcting me. I think that being Asian and also being openly gay, and also, like you said, being married and also having kids, that whole package right there, I think it helps other possible dancers or other dancers who are thinking of having children or in a same-sex relationship that are dancing. I think I hope that it gives them inspiration that it's possible. I think that me living my life and the choices that I make, I'm also mindful on what it's helping other communities that may not have that opportunity. I mean, I'm very we're very lucky to live in Massachusetts, where a state really protects LGBTQ communities. But if you're in Texas, perhaps that, I don't know the state laws there, but maybe the states aren't really supportive for LGBTQ communities, which therefore may not allow a same-sex couple who's in a ballet company to consider, oh well, let's have children. Right now, federally, marriage is all over, is for our country. We're hoping that that sustains with the current situation at B. But I don't know. I think that by living by example, I guess the term is, I could help people see that we're like any other person, people. I try to not segregate myself that we're so different. I try to immerse myself and our family with other people, black, white, green, red, orange, blue, whatever makeup there is, because at the end, we're all humans. Every single one of us are human, right? All of us are human. We all share the same, more or less. We all have DNA. DNA is colorless, right? It doesn't have, this is just how I view it. You know, maybe other people may view it differently, but that's how I always felt. And that's how I've been raising our kids, to understand that everybody is the same inside. There might be different shades, which is beautiful, because that's what makes our world, our world beautiful. But at the core value, we're all the same. So it's tough, because I understand that there are trailblazers that are very much like leading the worlds of LGBTQ and being very outspoken about it, which I believe is an incredible work. But I think that the way that I view it is more like not a silent way of doing it, but I think more of a
John, I have to disagree with you. Sorry,
I don't know. Yeah.
I have to disagree with you, because you actually are not silent. So I think maybe it's a shift in thinking for you. You're not silent in your example. You are very much saying, hey, look, guys, like you said, I'm a human being, and this is our family, and we're a family, we're a loving family, and and we are a family, just like you are a family and you are a family.
Right.
And in case, you know, you thought this wasn't possible and you'd like it, here we are. So you're not silent.
Right.
You are leading because of, you just said it, you are leading through example. That has so much power. So I think you should shift your thinking about it, because what you're doing is incredibly powerful by the life you're living, and the fact that you do interviews in magazines and you say, look at my beautiful family, just like your beautiful family. And, you know, I think so. So
I guess that's, I mean, yes, I mean,
yourself.
I mean, yes, you're right. I mean, I'm definitely, I guess what I'm trying to, convey is that I'm not trying to separate us. I guess that's the word. Like, I'm trying to be open and collective about it. I guess that's what I'm doing, which means, correlates that I'm, you know, open, and I'm sharing my ideas and stuff. So yeah.
So just
another way.
Going now, gonna go back into some art stuff. Since 2017, you have worked within the film medium as a choreographer, as a producer, as a director. Can you tell us more about this venture and what directions you're going?
So Miko approached me during I believe it was Trump's first year in office, and the NEA, the National Endowment of the Arts, was we didn't know if it was going to be funded any longer. And Boston Ballet usually does not play in any kind of political bias. But they wanted to put some sort of film out there about the National Endowment of the Arts. And Nico had approached me and said, hey, would you be willing to create a film, choreograph, direct, produce, whatever, about this and what it means to you? And I'm like, sure, why not?
Exactly. Why not? That's my motto.
Right. I was like, why not? I was like, whatever. Like, how bad could I be? So I went for it, and I think that it was my first time, I would say choreograph, but it wasn't like choreograph for stage. So I think the mindset of having that, I guess, pressure, or that mindset of like, oh gosh, I need to like create a piece that's going to be presented on live stage. More or less, this was going to be presented in film where I can control the editing. So it helped me have a little bit more of a stable, I guess, viewpoint to it.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I agreed to it. Kind of like inching my baby step way to it to see if I like it, if I don't like it, whatever it is. And I was bold I asked 22 dancers.
Wow.
And it was crazy, but I was like, you know what? If I'm in, let's just do it. And at that time too, I was exposed to many choreographers already, and I had been in so many ballets already that I felt very comfortable, I guess, by saying my voice matters. So
Right.
I felt that, okay, why don't I just see what that means? I didn't know what that meant. And also keeping in mind that there was a goal. It's funny. It goes back to what you've taught me. If there's a task, you have to figure out that task of what that goal is going. And so this film, there was a task. There was a task of creating art, but also for what dance meant to you for the National Endowment of the Arts. So that was the task and goal that I had. That was kind of like my outline. And then it's like, okay, do whatever. So, so I created this film from Boston Ballet. It's called Dance Is. It's on their website.
It's beautiful.
It was filmed by Ernie Galan, who is Boston Ballet cinematographer.
Yeah.
And I was able to actually edit this film with him because I really wanted to immerse myself in like what it meant to film edit dance, because I felt that that was very important for a dancer to have that different kind of lens and see like what that meant. And I wanted to go through the process to see if that would inspire me, if it intrigued me, which it did. I really loved it, oddly, I think. And I decided after a year that I went into another film called Structure and Movement, that I produced, directed with a director named Sean Clark at Emerson College, and a cinematographer, Daniel Jacobs. And we created this non-narrative solo film, which isn't, it's not released in social media because we decided when we did this partnership that we wanted to submit these dance films in dance film festivals, which the number one thing is that if we do submit it, it can't be on social media because then we'll be disqualified. Yeah. So if you submit anything that you want to be considered as a participant in the festival, it can't be on YouTube. It can't be on Instagram. The whole film can't, or they'll disqualify you. So it's been tough because I really want to share. I mean, I can share it by a webinar or whatever it is, but it can't be floating out there until we decide, okay, we're no longer going to submit it.
Right.
So that was about a couple years ago. And the most recent one I did is called She, I wanted to do something more narrative. I wanted to, of course, challenge myself in that respect. And I also wanted to challenge myself in bringing in another human being, was another dance at Boston Ballet, a female Marie Elevez. And we did this, I choreographed this small little phrase about, it goes back to what you believe in as well, is the human touch. Like how touch is, that tactile touch is so important, because I feel like in humanity we forget, and especially now it's so interesting. We're covered up, we can't touch things, we're sanitizing things, so we are also losing more touch. we're losing more the tactile of like what it means to like have someone hug you or someone that you don't know to give them an embrace, that feeling, like that feeling that you get. And so as an artist, as a choreographer, as a producer, I wanted to try to instill this is pre-COVID, to instill this emotion in a pas de deux, in a very I guess modern way. And it's called She-I. I wanted to also play around with androgyny because I'm very comfortable being a female, male, both.
Yeah.
And I wanted to play with masculinity and femininity, and what that means to people dancing together. So long story short, I'm very happy with it. Of course, it could always be better. But it's the first time I did something with a pas de deux, and it's being considered. And there is a small little like teaser on my Instagram of it that shows a minute of it, which is allowed, but it's nothing compared. It's about 7 minutes long.
Oh,
wow. But yeah, that was the most recent one that I just did. So.
well, what I find so extraordinary is that this is a completely new medium, and
Right.
it could very well be part of your life trajectory. And I think the lesson here is, for people who are watching, is that keep your opportunities open. You could have said no to Miko when he said, I want you to do this,
Right.
but you didn't, and he knew you wouldn't. And
Right.
it's why not, because you never know how these different pathways
Right.
will make us feel like, perhaps this is an idea.
Right.
Because we all know profession is short about
Right.
being a professional dancer. You have to reinvent yourself again and again.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
being lucky enough to be in the position during COVID, because I do realize also how lucky I am, to reinvent myself in this way, and perhaps, introduce people to amazing artists. So they're like, oh, okay, even though no money's, coming in, I can still be creative,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Beautiful. So you have reimagined yourself many times as a dancer in many roles.
Yep.
And I know you research your roles. You just talked about that. How has this reimagining deepened your creative life, and how has it propelled it forward?
I think that the number one thing that helped me is to be open. You have to be open and be willing to fail. You have to be you have to be open and willing to succeed. You have to be open and willing to not know what the heck is going to happen. I think that's the hardest part, especially for dancers, because we're so trained to know that I'm going to rehearse for 6 months and then I'm going to kill it when it's opening night, right? But also, you have to take all of that and then put it in like this cloud and not know if that cloud is going to dissipate to other clouds, right? To see what the other possibilities are. But if you're so concentrated in just like this bubble, I guess you would say, it's not going to give you a colorful experience, I guess, to see what the possibilities can be. And I think that that's what propelled me to be a father, to be a dancer, to be an artist, to be a filmmaker, to be my newest thing now is houseplants. I'm like really into these houseplants.
And not only houseplants, but what about you are also teaching your boys?
Yes, and
you're
also teaching my
homeschooling.
Yeah, and I'm homeschooling, which unbeknownst to COVID, I didn't know what that meant. But now I'm realizing that with that kind of relationship, and of course, as a parent, you have this ingrained responsibility for your kids, but this time, these times are tough, and there's a lot of gloominess, and there's a lot of dark times that we all face, right? But we have to figure out how to transition that and like just go like that and
Bring
just like,
joy.
yes, we realize that we are all in this horrible phase right now in our lifetime, but there's also lots of beauty and lots of hope that we can create creatively within. When I visualize, it's like within like the war zone. It's like this war zone, right? But it's like you can still see this beautiful lily grow, and
Well,
it's like,
it's like
let's
you're in this
try to
war
play.
zone, but you have these two beautiful little lives.
Right, and I
And
have to
you have to
continue to,
give them joy and love
yes,
and yeah,
yes.
that's
So
amazing.
I think, yeah, so I think has propelled me and has kept me going, because if you're open, I believe that you'll just continue to grow as a human being no matter what. But once you close, it doesn't let you figure out if you can grow or not. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's beautiful, John. So, this is something I'm really excited about.
Oh
Just
gosh.
found out
Okay.
you recently acquired a property called Kilburn Mill in New Bedford.
Yes.
New Bedford,
Yes.
Connecticut,
New
Massachusetts.
Bedford, Massachusetts. Yes.
Can you speak about this? Because this sounds like
Yeah.
the future. You know,
Right.
this could be something really exciting to look forward to.
So I've been very grateful that we had this amazing, incredible opportunity to purchase this mill, which is, if people out there don't know what mills are, this mill is like 400,000 square feet. So it's like 2 football fields together. It's massive. Um, Currently, right now, it's 4 floors. The first floor is an antique mart where people can rent out space and sell their antiques. The second floor is basically a rental space for all different artisans. So from dyeing cotton to making cotton to the sides of a frame to candle making to whatever it is, these people come and rent out the space to create their business. New Bedford was a whaling area where they whaling. So there were all these mills that needed space to like get these fish and to make soap, like all these things that needed to be done in these mills. But that all shifted now, and now these mills are left empty or they're abandoned or whatever it is. And where the mill is, Kilburn Mill, is in the South Cove of New Bedford, which is not the most educated and not the most I would say it's a low income area. But I love this because I believe that if you're given a beautiful life and you have the capacity, ability, and resources to give back, I think it's good for humans to help other humans cultivate as well. And I think that for my husband and I, and there's also two business owners as well, this area is perfect for the mill. And it correlates right to what I'm going to say now. Is the third floor was not finished, and we finished it, and now it's this event center where we house anything from a live wrestling match to the New Bedford Symphony coming to provide live music to Keith Lockhart from the Boston Pops to do a private showing, to you name it, to weddings, to birthday parties, to whatever, right? So we did this center to allow these things to happen. And so on top of that, I said, New Bedford doesn't have a theater or a dance company. I mean, they have New Bedford Ballet, and that's it. That's it.
Okay.
That's all they have. But it's not a company that puts on high dance or art that is very educational or inspirational. They're more going out to schools and doing shows there. And I thought, why not have like a small little black box theater, and why not be able to offer it to upcoming choreographers who need space to like, it's almost like a incubator kind of
Yes.
space.
That's what
And so I thought, and that's what I've kind of toyed with this. It has not happened yet because of COVID. But the idea for me being a part of this whole mill is that I would love to have like a dance center where it can be open to communities that can't afford to have an experience of what a black box theater is. Like, if you grew up in a low income area, you probably would never ever know what a black box theater is. You would probably never know what the opera house would be like. You would never step in an opera house. And so wouldn't it be incredible to have a black box theater that allows kids to come out and be like, you know what, you're 6 years old, 8 years old, 10 years old, 15 years old. What is a choreographer to you? What does that mean to you? Like, do we get educated of what that is in
it's almost
school?
like
So it's like,
you could create almost like, I mean, your version of TED Talks too. It could be an educational, the Kilburn Talks. You could have an
absolutely.
educational portion of having a choreographer actually speak about what it is.
Right.
Then you could have like, look, I'm already like in it with you.
Right.
You could then, have a working rehearsal to
Right.
show these young children or young people or anybody
Right.
what is involved in creating. Then you could have a small finished product. Okay, I've got it.
I mean, there's definitely things on the table. One of my dreams, I think a very long dream, I guess, is to have a conservatory. I came from a conservatory, like National Ballet of Canada. There was dorms, I did academics, and I did dance on a high level that
Right.
also exposed me to all different choreographers.
Right.
So, I think the number one thing is a deficit of real estate for dance, for dance companies, to dance organizations. And I have this very unique opportunity where I could, possibly do this with the community of New Bedford and to cultivate the community. I 100% believe in community building. That is the essence of how we all survive. If we don't have community, then it's like one person can't sustain humankind. You need to have a community in order to help it grow. And so, that's one of my dreams, is to have a conservatory, which may stem off to a small company, to a main company, whatever it is. But there's a lot of things right now on my plate, and I'm just trying to just enjoy every moment and try to be creative. I think that that's key, because if you're not creative, then it's like, why do it? It's like, I'm not there to make money. I'm not there to like just do it just for giggles. I mean, I giggle a lot, but like, you have to be creative of something that also means something to you. I think it means a lot to me about giving back to the community and helping them cultivate and educate themselves of what art is to them. Because I think art, it's what you said to me, what you say to me, it's what Bill Forsyth says to me, Yorma says, all these choreographers that I've worked with, when I'm immersed into their work, or if there's a solo created for me, or if I'm doing a solo that was not created on me, but I'm doing that solo, I'm always told by these choreographers, what does art mean to you? Like, truly, like, what is art? What is your art, your personal art mean to you? Now show it. Show what your art means to you within the parameters of what it is. It doesn't mean that you're going to just like do whatever the heck you want to do, right? But it's being thoughtful and mindful, and this almost intimate moment of what art is, and showcasing that. And I think that, like, I guess, thought process dives into this space where art might mean to me, where I'm giving this art to everyone to also figure out what art is to them. I think that's a beautiful way of living, maybe.
Maybe, absolutely, John. And I have to back
So,
you up on that a little bit, because, I was just thinking toward the end, you're a principal dancer in Boston. And I do really believe that, younger ones look to those principal and soloist dancers, and how you conduct yourself and how you believe, you know, the generosity that you show, the kindness that you show, the work ethic that you show, these young ones are learning by example.
I hope so.
So, and you have a great deal of generosity. And I've seen that actually demonstrated over the years, even when you were a very young dancer. So I feel like this, how your life has developed is actually, and that's what I wanted to say, how your life has developed seems really like you're following through and your beliefs
Yeah.
of the setup way before. So you said something that I just want to almost kind of enfold you with. You said, you know, because of COVID, maybe things how you thought would develop have stopped. But I can tell you from, you know, from creating full-length ballets, they're with me like 4 or 5 years, even before, let's say 4 years before I get to that studio. And, you know, they're with me, but I always say that sometimes they're in the back of my head, in the front of my
Yeah.
head, but I'm in a state where that inspiration is with me. So very often all of these ideas will come to me because it's kind of a percolation. So I think that this time for you, even though it isn't active
Mhm.
in how you are forming Kilburn, it's with you. And I think you might surprise yourself that you will come out of this and say, oh, wow, you know, what COVID gave me and how I was teaching my boys, for example. You're a teacher now. That is going to contribute to how you're thinking about Kilburn. You know,
Yes,
so
no, absolutely.
I think
Yeah,
that this time, yeah.
thank you for that. No, that's good. I mean, you're right. You're right. It's there, but it doesn't mean it needs to like be right there in front of you. But it can, you know, yeah,
It's working.
I like that. Yeah.
So this is a little question, and then we're ending with a bigger question. The little question is a little bit important. Do you have a favorite or impactful and joyful memory from your creative life that you can share? Just something that
There's
comes to
so
you.
there's so many, but like right now, what I can think of is being on stage in Paris for the first time with my best friend Kathleen Green Combs, who's a former principal dancer. And it was a potted that was created for us from Billy Forsyth.
Oh.
And it ends the whole evening. And it's like a fake out. He does these fake outs where you think it ends, and then there's just Kathleen and I, and the curtain goes up. And I just remember holding her hand, also not knowing, you know, at that time we didn't know um, if she was going to retire or not. But I just remember that time we just looked at each other and we held our hand, and you know, Kathleen had gone through so much personally. We're like these kindred hearts since birth, but we have this amazing relationship. But to have that relationship also on stage is very special, and especially during that time, because it was Paris and it was the first time Boston Ballet hadn't been there for 50 plus years. And we're just there looking at us and thinking like, are we supposed to be here? Like, what the hell? Like, this is what we do for a living. Like, this is so much fun.
Yeah.
And I think that memory, I can just think right now, is um, instilled in me because, you know, it instills in me even further more because of what's happening now.
Yeah.
Because we don't know if we're ever going to ever tour again. We don't know. You know, I'm so grateful that I had these memories of touring and these memories of being on the opera stage and memories of good and bad memories. but those are memories that has laid out my dance life, I guess. And so anyways, it's a short story. There's so many memories. I have so many beautiful, I'm grateful that I have so many beautiful memories, but just thinking of right there is,
well, I know
that was a special
Kathleen
moment.
well, beautiful artist,
Yes.
beautiful woman. I know how close you are, and that is a gorgeous memory. I also have a lot of great memories of Paris.
Yeah.
Frankfurt, yeah. Okay, so you kind of you covered this a little bit in Kilburn with Kilburn, but I believe there's I'm still going to ask a question.
Okay.
In supporting and building a more equitable community, what do you believe needs to be shifted or changed? And again, this is many answers, but one right now that you think of.
Oh gosh, I can answer like one question, or I can answer it in 3 parts. But
what's really important to you at this moment? Because there are many facets to this question.
Yes. So to answer that question, is teaching my kids what equality is, because I believe that equality for all starts from teaching our youth, because that is the future. That is the future of everything. That is the future going to schools, becoming police officers, becoming the next president, to become whatever it is. It's our youth. And my responsibility is to teach my children that we are all a collective community. And so my small part in making sure that equality is for our world is starting with my children. And I hope that instills everybody.
That is absolutely beautiful. That's right. Our youth, our babies. Yes.
Our babies. So
John, you besides having the honor, really the honor of working with you as an artist for so many years, you're an incredible human being, and to also, it's a real joy for a choreographer to be in a journey with a dancer for so long. And I was very lucky with you and Kathleen and several people, Paul, many other people I'm not naming at Boston, but it's been an honor, and you're a fine human being and a beautiful artist. If you wouldn't mind staying with me as we finish this up, I just want to find out where we can find out more about you, because there's much more. So correct me if I'm wrong. JohnLamb.com, right?
JohnDLamb.com.
Sorry, John D. Lamb, and that's DI.com. BostonBallet.org, of course, to see what you do there. At John D. Lamb, that's for Instagram, right?
No, opposite.
Opposite.
Sorry, opposite. Website's John D, just D Lamb, and my Instagram is at John DILAM.
Got it. Okay. One more time.
Okay. Yes. So you can follow me on my website at johndlamb.com, Boston Ballet website, and then my Instagram is at JohnDILAM.
Beautiful. And there's a lot to find out. And also, if you want to contribute to Kilburn, it sounds like a beautiful idea that will that will create this collective community, as John said. So Creative Vitality Jam sessions are now pre-recorded, and we still have 2 new sessions every week: Tuesdays, a new day, and Sundays. And they will be, this episode and all episodes will be uploaded and are uploaded to the Creative Vitality Jam Sessions YouTube channel. So look for that later today. We'll post it on Instagram when it's up, and you can enjoy John's beautiful wisdom. Our next session, you will meet Theresa Ruth Howard. She's the founder and creator of MOBBallet, and I know she just had something to do with the Boston Ballet School. An amazing woman. Can't wait for you to meet her. You will find out more about John. There's a short bio in the description box once this interview is uploaded, so you can find out a little bit about him there. And I want to say my thanks now. So I'm going to start with Gracie Spina, the amazing intern who has been with me for a few months now. Just an extraordinary young woman who's learning from all of these amazing artists. I want to thank the dance community that I'm honored to be a part of every single day of my life. It sustains my heart to be in this community of such generosity. You know, it just brings tears to my eyes, the generosity that is out there. So thank you so much. And John D. Lamb, thank you so much for this talk.
Thank you.
I can't wait to hug you and see you again.
I know.
And I'll be talking
Thank you
to
for having us. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.